It's a very unusual thing for me to set up a tactic with three at the back. But in the current save with Coritiba, we had so many decent centre-backs that I decided last season to give it a try. And throughout the season we tweaked the tactic until I believe we've got it absolutely right. And it's so good to see wing-backs marauding down the touchlines providing crosses for brilliant goals. So today we're going to take you through what I believe is an extremely good tactic that we've come up with, our 3-5-2. Let's go and kick some balls. Hello and welcome back to FM with Old Man Phil, and if you are a brand new visitor, I'm Phil and welcome to the channel. And today we are going to be taking a look at the tactic we are using currently in the journeyman save here at Coritiba in Brazil. And it's the first time I've played three at the back for a very long time, but this tactic is working extremely well. And as you can see from the table, we are way ahead. We are 16 points clear at the top of the league. And if we look at this little chart here, we are the best in terms of goals scored. And we've only conceded 16 goals in 25 matches. We are the best in terms of goals conceded. We are flying along and going to the schedule. If you look at the schedule overall this season, well, it's been absolutely phenomenal. And I can actually only count 2 defeats in amongst all those wins that we've had this season. And I believe that it's down to the tactic in the main. But we're not only going to rely on what we've done here at Coritiba, I also tested it both at Manchester City and Nottingham Forest. And so we're going to take a look at how both those teams got on using this particular formation. And one of the great things about this is the wing-backs. And if we have a look at our wing-backs, Riquelme has 9 goals and 16 assists. Gelos, who is cover at right-back, he's got 5 goals and 11 assists. Piros, who is a main wing-back on the right, he has 1 goal and 8 assists. And Cipriano, who is currently injured and probably out for the rest of the season, he has 4 goals and 15 assists. It is so good to see the wing-backs flying up the wing and putting crosses that are headed in by the forwards or put in by the wing-back on the opposite side. And so before going on, let's have a look at some of the goals that we have been scoring. But don't be fooled by all these results. We are not the best team in the league by a long shot. And we were at the beginning of the season predicted to finish in 10th. They have lifted us up to 8th now, despite the fact that we are 16 points clear at the top of the league. We're still currently predicted by the media to finish only in 8th. We do have 3 players who are in the Dream 11, and I really don't understand why they don't see us as pretty much championship material, but the pundits don't believe that we are good enough. And so it is an exceptional tactic, and without wanting to totally rely on what's been happening here at Coritiba, I went ahead and I tested it with a very strong team, Manchester City. And as you can see with Manchester City finished second in the league. It was very, very close, and it was 89 points for Tottenham, 89 points for Manchester City. They were equal on goal difference, but I do believe Tottenham scored more goals than Manchester City. However, we can see we were second best in terms of goals scored and the best in terms of goals conceded. And so it was an interesting season for Manchester City in terms of their results. It was a mixed bag, but looking at it overall, it was a very, very good season, considering I just loaded up the tactic and went away on holiday, and it was a fabulous season for Manchester City. They came second in the league, only just beaten, knocked out in the quarter-final by Real Madrid in the Champions League, won the UEFA Super Cup, won the FA Cup, knocked out in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup by Sheffield United, and were runner-up in the Community Shield. But overall, given that you're going away on holiday, that was an extremely good performance. Erling Haaland scored 63 goals. Of course, he was the main man, and Kevin De Bruyne, 19 assists. And then we took it on the road to Nottingham Forest. And we did exactly the same at Nottingham Forest. We loaded up the tactic and then we went away on holiday. And they had an exceptionally good season. They finished in 8th, 69 points from their 38 games. They scored 56 goals, the 9th best, and conceded only 31 goals, 3rd best. I did actually make a little tweak with Nottingham Forest, pulling the defensive line back one notch to higher rather than much higher, which I had with Manchester City, given that their defence was a little bit weaker than Manchester City's. And so, even so, it's a remarkable performance, given they just loaded the tactic and went on holiday. And they would have done better, but for the middle of the season. And as we see, the results are extremely good. But then around January and February, it all fell apart because the squad dynamics apparently went to pieces during this time. And they lost a lot of games in January in the transfer window when dynamics was extremely poor. But they recovered and did extremely well towards the back end of the season. This was a particularly good performance by Nottingham Forest. And in terms of the competitions, 8th in the league, knocked out in the 3rd round by Manchester City and knocked out in the 4th round of the Carabao Cup by Manchester United. 2 tough draws. But I think an extremely good performance to finish in 8th. And this tactic just seemed to work just by loading it up. Not something I would recommend, and we'll talk about that after we've had a look at the tactic. But loading it up and going on holiday, it seemed to work absolutely fine. So let's go and have a look at the tactic itself. And as you can see, it is a very, very simple tactic. 3 at the back with 5 in midfield and 2 up top. We play with a very balanced mentality, and in terms of the player roles, we have a goalkeeper on defend. He has no additional instructions. On the right of the back 3, we have a central defender on defend. He's told to tackle harder and mark tighter. On the left of the back 3, we have a central defender on defend. He's also told to tackle harder and mark tighter. And in the centre, we have a central defender on cover. He is told to take fewer risks and tackle harder. At right wing back, he is a wing back on support, told to close down less and tackle harder. And then we have a wing back on the other side on attack, just told to close down less. And then we have a DLP in between those on support. He's told to dribble less, close down more, tackle harder, and mark tighter. In midfield, we have a ball-winning midfielder on support who's told to mark tighter. He was originally a box-to-box, and that worked quite well, but I've recently changed it to a ball winner, and that seems to work perfectly adequately as well. And then next to him, we have a centre mid on attack. He's told to take more risks and tackle harder. Up front, we have a deep-lying forward on support, told to dribble less. And then up front, we have an advanced forward on attack with no additional instructions. It is a very, very simply set up combination of roles, which is working extremely well. We play in a very balanced way, and in possession we play with a standard width. We pass into space, shorter passing directness with a higher tempo, work the ball into the box with low crosses, and run at the defence. And in transition, we're going to counter press, counter, distribute quickly. Our goalkeeper's going to distribute to the centre-backs and roll it out. And in defence, we play generally with a high press, a high line of engagement, and we play with a higher defensive line, although often that can go up against weaker teams to a much higher line of defence. And then we trigger press much more often, prevent the short goalkeeper distribution, step up more and try to stop the crosses. We will adjust this in-game. We do a lot of work in-game, and very often if teams are getting behind us down the flanks, I will pull the line back to a standard line, come back to a mid-block, and then put the wing-backs on support. And then that does tend to do the trick against teams who are trying to exploit us down the flanks. And so there are other things that I will do. Sometimes I will push the line up. Sometimes I will pull the line back. Depends on where they are finding space. So I don't believe that there is such a thing as a plug-and-play tactic anymore. You have to tweak it. You have to make sure that your team can play in those roles. If they can't, switch the roles. Do something else. But as you saw, we have tested it with Nottingham Forest and we tested it with Manchester City. Both teams did really well, and I did nothing pre-game or in-game. I just simply loaded up the tactic and went on holiday. So with a little bit of work in-game, you can definitely achieve results that we are achieving here at Coritiba. And so that's it for this video. If you are brand new to the channel and you like FM content and you love to see people suffer playing this game, come and join us when we live stream 3 times a week at Coritiba. And hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you'll be updated when we upload future videos. And while you're there, leave us a like, because likes and comments help the YouTube algorithm to push the video out to people who've not yet had a chance to see any of our videos. And that's it for this video. All that remains to be said now is stay safe, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.